can't feel my face. Coffee spilling all over the place. Forgot the sticks, we're turning around. Another weekend in some hockey town. With a pucked up parents, frozen toes, big hearts, bad luck. With a pucked up parents, one more tourney, one more puck. We're broke, we're loud, we love this grind. Cause our kid just scored and we lost our minds.
Greetings and welcome to Puck Up Parents. We are at episode 18. I am Michael, your host of Pucked Up Parents. Joining me as always, coincidentally enough, we're on episode 18. Angela, you will be a parent of an 18-year-old within 3 weeks. How you doing?
I'm good, but don't remind me of my age or our oldest child's age.
What are you talking about? I've already reserved a tattoo parlor for him and we're hitting the strip club.
Yeah, no, that's gross. Anyways, welcome everyone to Pucked Up Parents. We are novice first generation hockey parents in a non-traditional hockey town, here to tell you a lot about what we've learned over the last 12 years of being a hockey parent to the now almost 18-year-old, as well as our almost 12-year-old.
If you're a new hockey parent or you're just been in the game for years, join us as we discuss different aspects of being a youth hockey parent. We've covered over the course of 17 episodes various subjects, which we will continue to do until we run out of topics to talk about. And it seems like with youth hockey, we may not ever run out of topics to talk about. Let's get into the show and talk about our weekend. Everybody, the seasons are coming to an end. Our 12U, he isn't playing, but our high school varsity player who's 17, soon to be 18, his season's continued on. Angela, what a weekend.
It was more than a weekend. It was from
True.
Tuesday to Sunday, essentially. Our team made it to the USA Nationals, which were held in Plymouth, Minnesota this year. We made the trip up to Minnesota and played. We're expecting to win one, maybe two games, and the kids played really great. We ended up in the semifinals. It was an absolutely amazing weekend and a great way to close out his high school hockey career.
And we're in a non-traditional state, Kentucky. So you don't think Kentucky, you don't think USA Nationals, but they did set records. I mean, no other Kentucky team had made it to essentially they made it to the Final Four of USA Nationals. End of your trip, because I didn't go, I stayed behind with our 11-year-old, were travel woes, lots of travel woes for Angela. Essentially, we paid for 2 flights, both had layovers in Chicago, but Angela took one leg of a flight out of 4 because A, she missed the flight going up, and B, she booked the flight back on Saturday because she didn't have faith in the team to make it that far, and neither did I. Yes,
I was going to say, no one had
no one
faith
did.
that we were going to make it out of pool play. We made it out of pool play and actually played 2 amazing games in the actual bracket.
They did win one game in the bracket, and I gotta say, and we'll close it up. I know people don't want to hear about our kids, but give us a minute to brag. In the pool play, they had to win 2 games. We lost the first one. The second one they won, and the third one went down to the last minute, down to the last 40 seconds. We were down by 1. Our coach pulled the goalie as he should, and we scored with 40 seconds left. Went into overtime, the old 3-on-3 overtime, but the other team got a penalty, which adds a guy. I learned that. I thought it would be in 3-on-2, but it was 4-on-3, and we scored to win the game and pushed us into the actual bracket tournament. So super exciting weekend. All the coaches, all the parents, all the kids were pleased with how far we made it.
Yeah, it was a great weekend, great experience for everybody. We won't dwell on that. We won't talk too much more about that, but just wanted to point that out. I think in our episodes going forward, we're going to have to skip this what happened last weekend since we're kind of out of hocky tournaments and hockey things that are going on currently. So
Well, if you know
let's
hockey always seems to find its expensive head in our lives each week. So I imagine our weekends will turn into what happened in hockey in the prior week. So that's probably what we'll turn into. And real quick, I don't want to take too much time on this. Our oldest did start playing lacrosse. I know that's supposedly an easy transition for hockey kids. He's a senior. He just decided to pick it up. So Angela and I went to our first lacrosse game, and man, I felt like I was an alien that landed on another planet. I didn't know any of the rules. Angela's reading the rules on the way to the game. It was wild. So if you have kids in lacrosse, and maybe we have a lacrosse parents podcast down the road, I don't know.
We'll do
So
some sort of a crossover episode and
yeah,
talk about what
exactly.
we've learned about lacrosse.
Well, we can fit what I learned into a thimble. All right, well, let's talk about our last episode. What did we talk about last on the last episode,
Well,
episode 17?
last week we had the interview with Michael Patrick from Hockey Gear for All, the nonprofit foundation that is looking to help out hockey players of all ages and sizes and all over, providing them with free hockey gear.
Incredible charity. Please go on your social media, your Facebook, your Instagram, look up Hockey Gear for All, look up Michael Patrick. If you follow us on Pucked Up Parents, we've shared his links. Please donate if you can. That can be a monetary donation or a gear donation. And even though you may not live where he lives, he's able to broker deals with people in need in your area. So, Michael Patrick with Hockey Gear for All, we truthfully thank you so much for joining us. And that brings us into today. Angela, what do you got on topic today?
Well, spending several days with a hockey team and figuring out food and nutrition for our players during a very long tournament, I thought it would be a good topic to talk a little bit about food and nutrition for young players, especially when you have those dinner time practices or crazy weekend game schedules that always happen around mealtime. How do we
All
handle
right.
that?
So what the puck am I doing? Food for the hockey players. What do you got?
Well, so I know you're not much of a food guy and you don't feel it when you are hungry. Whereas I know when I'm hungry and I know that food is fuel and it's really key to have your player have good nutrition and have those nutrients on board so that they can play their best. And it's important for growing kids too, but you don't want to have a player out on the ice who's having a crash due to hunger or lack of nutrients during a game or a practice for that matter.
Or they get much like yourself when you haven't eaten in a while, hangry. They get hangry, that mixture of I'm hungry and I'm angry. And for the record, I don't eat a lot. I could go one day with just eating one meal. It's not because I'm lazy and don't do nothing. It's just I don't know. I don't need it. I don't feel the hunger. I don't know. I don't understand it. But I'm not an athlete. I know they burn calories. When I do go for runs, when I do work out, I do get hungry. So when we talk about the kids, yeah, there's a balance there of what to feed them. You don't want to feed them junk food, but you don't want to overstimulate them with too much protein. So what are we feeding these little guys on the ice to keep them from getting hangry, lightheaded, or is ravenous, starving?
Well, I think it's not just what we're feeding them, but when we're feeding them is part of it too. Obviously, avoiding highly processed sugary snacks before going out to play or
You mean
practice is
are you
key.
telling me a sleeve of Oreos before they go out on the ice is a bad idea?
Probably not a good idea, although I think our teenager can probably handle it just because he is a dumpster when it comes to junk food. But for the most part, we try to do some healthy snacks, some healthy meals, especially before a practice or a game.
I can say with honesty that our senior I've offered before his practices or even games. I'm like, hey, let's go, buddy, let's go get a steak dinner or go get a Chick-fil-A or something like that. And he is against that because he knows his body and he doesn't want to get overfull or be bloated when he's out on the ice. Granted, afterwards a whole different story, but he's self-aware enough that he knows he needs to eat a good meal before he gets out there.
Right, and I think a lot of that comes with time and practice of the kids learning their body and learning what works for them. I don't wanna go out and say, you need to have a peanut butter sandwich or you have a protein bar or whatever before practice, because that's not the case for everybody. Everybody's different. Kids are gonna have different things that work well for them before games, before practices. Timing's always a big issue. I want to get into that a little bit here in a minute of weird practice times and how you have dinner for your family when you've got a weird practice time during the week, as well as some of those crazy game and tournament times at the over the weekends. But I think generally looking to eat something an hour or two before a practice or a game, typically something with a little bit higher carb for quick energy. That's where you don't want to have that big cheeseburger before you go on the ice because that typically doesn't make you feel very good.
My kid has a game, my kid has practice. I'm not shoving a granola bar in their hand as they go to the locker room. You're thinking like an hour or two before the game, before the practice, to get it in their system and a little bit digested so they can hit the ice running,
Yeah, I think that's always
skating.
better, but if it's one of those early morning games, you've got a 7 a.m. game, you rolled out of bed, you're going straight to the rink, sometimes you can't avoid that last-minute protein bar or whatever. Giving a body a little bit of time to digest is usually better. I think in addition to a granola bar, protein bar, things like fruit, yogurt, whole grain crackers, cheese sticks, we often have those, pretzels, things along those lines are those good quick hitting carbs.
So like a little hockey charcuterie board.
Yeah, exactly. The little, snack boxes kinds of things are always good that give you
I
the
believe
little
the proper term is a snackle box.
snackle box. Well, I've
Snackle box,
also
not a
heard of
tackle box, a snackle box.
snackle box. We made the adult version of snackle boxes one time for a tournament.
What's that? Your daily pills? Your daily pills that you have to take for
No, it was infused fruits and gummy bears and
Oh,
things along
Lord.
those lines.
Save the alcohol for another episode. So, yeah, to your point, the fruit, the yogurt, whole grain crackers, cheese, nuts, pretzels. I know somebody had messaged me. I put this out on social media to see what other people's practices were, and like the Kodiak protein oatmeal cups.
Yeah.
Good to get them up and running on the ice. What about post practice or game?
Well, post practice or game, the kids come off the ice ravenous. They are hungry. They are a hungry bear at the trash can at the campground. They are looking for anything and everything to eat. At least our kids are.
Well, generally,
Uh,
that's the first thing they say. They come out of the locker room, come through the swinging doors with the bags, and you say, "Good game, buddy. Good game, pal." And that inevitably, that first line out of their mouth is, "What are we eating? What are we eating? What are we going to
exactly.
eat? What are we going to have? What do you got to eat?"
Exactly. Right. I think just generally post game, post practice, they're going to be hungry. You're going to want to get some more protein in their system after a hard workout, just like anybody doing a workout, whether you run marathons or you're doing CrossFit or whatever your workout type is. It's kind of the same thing for the kiddos. Getting some of that lean protein, whether it's chicken, turkey, eggs, some of the whole grains, that kind of stuff is going to be best. But as everybody knows, when it's practice times or game times, that's not always available. So we got to come up with some other options that work, and try to make some good choices for those post game meals and snacks.
Our 17-year-old Angelo will make some dinner or something one night, and we'll cook like 2 large pork tenderloins on the grill. So tasty, so good. We cooked 2 because we're like, we'll have some leftovers tomorrow for lunch, during the workday or whatever. You put that whole tenderloin in the fridge. Our son, his practices are pretty late. He comes home, we're probably up in bed or up watching TV or something. You wake up the next day to go make you a nice little tenderloin sandwich at lunch, and it's all gone because he scarfed down every bit of it. So I would say this is a scale, think of a graph going from the bottom left-hand corner all the way to the top right-hand corner on how much your kids will eat as they grow up and burn calories. Our oldest son can put away if there's meat in the fridge, it's gonna last until he finds it.
Right. And, I think that's key. All kids are going to go through these growth spurts where they're going to eat more. But when they are playing hockey, it's a high intensity sport. There's a lot of output. They're burning a lot of calories. They need to replace those calories and, all of the nutrients too, because you got to think about all the sweat and all of that. They're going to get dehydrated. I know we've had some issues with dehydration over the years with kids getting, a headache during a tournament. And it really that stems a lot from the dehydration and the sweat, and replacing that with electrolytes, your salts, your sports drinks. I'm not a huge advocate of sport drinks, but I do think they do serve a place here and there.
Well, let's talk about the practices. Practices are inevitably during the weekday, and I don't know about everybody else that listens where your practices are. Ours vary based on the age group. So, like our 12U, his were at like 5:30 to 7:30, and our oldest, which once they get a driver's license, we're not concerned with it anymore. So let's just cut this off at 16. So the early practice, the mid evening, and the late practice, it's juggling that life of what are you having for dinner? And they just got out of school. They're starving because the school lunches are kind of so they're hungry too. So what's your advice for all of that?
I think again, it's one of those things that you're going to have to work out for yourself. But I think the early practices and the mid evening practices are probably the hardest in terms of meal planning because that practice is going to be when you would normally be eating dinner. So trying to adjust what works for your player and your family on if you've got an early practice, say it's that 5:30 practice, you're just getting home from work, the kids are getting home from school, getting a snack into them, and then with the goal of having a dinner as soon as you get home from practice at that 7:30. The mid-evening, I think, is even harder because you gotta decide, are you gonna have a 4 PM dinner or are you gonna have an 8 PM dinner
You
or
gonna eat like
both?
you gonna eat like an 80-year-old and eat a 4 o'clock early bird special, or you gonna eat like a teenager at the Waffle House when it's dark outside?
Or do you have dinner 1 and dinner 2? Because that's what our teenager does at this point, and I think that's the same for the late night practice too. We've had practices starting as late as 9:30, 9:45 at night, and they're not getting off the ice until 10:30, 11 o'clock at night, and you don't wanna be eating a big meal before you go to bed, but at the same time, you just burned a lot of calories. You've gotta replace some of those calories before you go to bed, and that's one of those situations where you're gonna have to eat dinner first and then deal with a snack or a protein bar or a shake or something, after practice.
So clearly we're a married couple and we kind of split duties with especially with our teenager not going. One of us stays back for the practice. Again, the practice is about 40 minutes from our house. Whoever stays back, whether it be Angela or myself, we usually kind of we're going to do the dinner. We're going to get it all ready unless something else is going on and maybe we just do the fast food. But I think what we did that worked out well as a couple was to meal prep. And when I say meal prep, I'm not talking about making everything and freezing it. I'm talking about on Sunday you sit down and you map out the week and say, all right, what do we have on Monday night? What do we have Wednesday night? So, okay, I know Wednesday night we have practice from X time to X time. We wanted dinner that night. What are we having? So, just that preparation of the meal seems to make it like a family dinner, but also you can interweave the practices.
Yeah, and I think, the other thing that we've relied on a lot is crock pot meals, instant pot meals, that kind of thing to make it a little quicker and easier so it's done when you get home kind of thing. But we're also not adverse to getting those pre-prepped meals from Costco or frozen meals every once in a while because sometimes, life gets in the way and you just don't get to the store and you don't get that meal prep done. And then there's times too when we just have a lot going on and it's like, "Hey, guess what? Tonight is a drive-through meal," or, some of those frozen or the meals from the grocery store, quote unquote salad bar, like the, Whole Foods bar, you've got the food bar, just go get a quick meal somewhere. We have a pizza place pretty close by that does pizza by the slice. Something quick and easy after those practices because everybody's hungry, they're getting to the hangry side, and you gotta do something. I guess the variety is the spice of life. It's the same thing with this. You try your best to do the prepping ahead of time and have something home-cooked meal, but don't beat yourself up if that doesn't happen.
I know when I do eat out on a weeknight with the kids, with sports in the way. A lot of restaurants are local restaurants. I'm not talking about the fast food drive-throughs. A lot of local restaurants run specials on weeknights because they're trying to get you in there. So, there's a place near us, $10 burger and fries, amazing burgers and amazing fries, Bard's Burgers. I'll give them a quick plug. Dollar Wing Wednesday. A lot of places do dollar chicken wings. Go there after practice. Taco Tuesday, 3 tacos for $7. Heck yeah. Well, you're getting a good hot meal and it's super cheap because it's on a weekday and that works out perfect with your schedule because you don't want to cook. And even to Angela's point, the pre-made meals at the grocery, there's one that I found that makes $5 hot pizzas on Tuesday nights. So I go pick up a pizza while the kid's practicing, and when he gets in the car, hot pizza for him. Just check around your local businesses, not the McDonald's, not the Arby's. I don't know who's eating Arby's anymore, but your local
Just 'cause
restaurants
the
are.
Arby's close to the rink, you say that.
There is Arby's close to the rink. It's next to the drive-through liquor store where you actually drive your car through their little garage to get alcohol.
One other thing. Oh, go
As
ahead.
as far as meal prep goes, if you're out of town for work or something, I'll try to prep the meal before I leave. I'm like, all the utensils are laid out, the stuff is marinating, and that way I can come home and cook it as quickly as possible on the stove. Or we have an air fryer which cooks super fast. Air fryer is also your friend, much like a crock pot and an Instapot is.
And I think the other thing, I know a lot of parents do this, and I think I did at one point, is just having snacks in the car. Get a little bin of snacks, whether it's dried fruit or protein bars, little packets of nuts or whatever. Those of us who have issues with getting hangry need to have snacks close at hand.
I'm not shaking my head because people who get hangry. I'm shaking my head because snacks in the car, even food in the car, you know what that means? I'm gonna be vacuuming up M&Ms, nuts, berries underneath my seat. The kid looks like he had a, sneeze while he was holding an open bag of Cheerios. It's all over the place, same thing for fast food. And then also, you wanna keep a little garbage can in the car because I don't know everybody else that listens and their kids, our boys love to shove the garbage in the door. So, when your kid's been in the car because of the wrapper shoved in the door.
Well, we've done some social experiments on that, and I think it's more than just our kids. There's
It
lots of
is
kids out there
It
that
is
shove
plaguing
their
our yeah, that's true.
wrappers.
We did talk to a friend out in LA, we're in Kentucky, so clearly it's across the nation because it's plaguing the youth, and he's like, "Yeah, man, they're shoving wrappers in my doors, and it's driving me crazy." One time Henry had a slice of pizza in my car, and they gave us little parm packets, and I swear it looks like he opened the package, stuck it in his hand, and then just sneezed because I was picking up cheese, and when that cheese gets, like, old and the hot heat of the car, it starts to
It
stink.
stinks, yeah.
Yeah, Parmesan
Well,
stinks when it gets
okay,
right.
why is he opening a package of Parmesan on the cart? Just eat the pizza. You don't need to put parm on it at that point.
'Cause you raised a hoity-toity little boy who needs to have parm with atop his brick oven cooked pizza.
Jeez,
Let's
whatever.
move on to are we there yet? Rinks and road trips. What do you got for that?
Well, I just want to mention, and I think we're a little out of this game, but the younger players, probably the mites and maybe the squirts, they look forward to the post game snack. So there's always the parent sign up of, hey, who's got snacks this week? And I think that kind of fades off as they get, to about that 10-year-old age group.
That
That
wait,
doesn't
I'm sorry,
happen
is that
more.
that your I know this has been controversial around our house. What's the age cutoff for you when we need to stop relying on other parents and us to bring snacks for everybody? What age?
I think no more than 10.
Okay, so 10 you're good. 12
Yeah.
time to take
10,
care of your own
12,
kid.
time for the kids to make their own, to not necessarily make their own decisions on that, but I think around that 12U age is where the kids really kind of hone in on what they like to eat before and after games, things along those lines. And it's not the novelty of, hey, what snack do we get this week? Whereas I think the younger kids, it's more of a novelty, just like the Little League baseball games and the soccer games where you get either, the Capri Sun or the little barrel drinks or whatever.
Yeah, little barrels are awesome.
I think it's a novelty, and I think that wears out at a certain point, especially with more competitive players and more competitive teams.
Parent hack, you get those little fruit juices, but if it's Capri Sun or it's the barrels, yeah, you pour it in your little mug, and you add a little vodka. It's pretty tasty.
Yes.
It's pretty tasty. Just don't let the kids
And
drink it.
and you were just dogging the drive-through liquor store.
And also dog your Snaggle box that has vodka-soaked fruit in it.
Exactly, exactly. But I will say, even with the younger kids with the snacks and whatnot, I do think some of the younger kids are playing games pretty close to back to back. They'll play a game, maybe they have an hour break and then they have another game. So I do think it's important to give them a little bit of a snack or a little bit of fuel between those games. And a lot of times it's fruit. And quite honestly, this week at Nationals, were buying oranges for the boys during the ice cut, so they were eating oranges in the locker room between the 2nd and 3rd period.
I thought that was hilarious. I saw that post on our team chat. It's like, "Somebody needs to pick up oranges." I'm like, "What age group is this? We all need oranges now?" And then they won that game. I'm like, "Yeah, you need to pick up oranges for the next game."
Well, I mean, even back in the day when I was running marathons, the orange slices was a thing. The oranges give you that quick burst of fruit and the sugar in the fruit, and it's a good thing for athletes who are really expending a lot of energy.
The little Gatorades are good too. I know, Angela, you don't like sports drinks, but that's good to get the electrolytes back. A public service announcement from a pucked up parents, much like the cowbell, the water bottles and your kids in between games on the bleachers, sitting next to me while I'm watching my kid play, doing the bottle flip, driving me crazy. You, as a parent, not doing anything to tell your kid to stop doing the bottle flip. Don't buy the water bottles for your kids because they're just going to take them out next to people like me and do the little bottle flip game. And all I wanna do is walk over there and kick the thing like I'm Adam Vinatieri.
You have some very strong feelings about that.
I do that and cowbells. If I had a family next to me with bottle flips and cowbells, I may just, like, throw all my clothes off and run on the ice in
Oh,
protest.
jeez. That's crazy.
Also, with all these snacks that you're bringing into the rink, that your team's bringing into the locker rooms, please be a decent human being and pick up your trash. just put it in the garbage receptacle next to you. Clean up after your kids. They should be cleaning up after themselves, but clean up your kids. I said at a game, once again, in the bleachers, these kids had a bunch of bottles of Gatorade, and there was like a table they were sitting at, and they stuck all these Gatorade bottles on the table and took off. I couldn't see the game, so I had to go over there and like move every Gatorade bottle. But don't trash up the rink. Don't trash up rinks that aren't your rinks, especially.
Well, I mean, just don't trash up rinks. I think that's a general rule. One of the other things that we've run into with some teams is they have a team cooler that they fill up with sports drinks or water or whatever, and they're always looking for volunteers to donate the sports drinks or the water to that team cooler. Just another thing that I wanted to point out as something that we've seen. I don't know how popular that is, but we have seen that with a couple of teams.
Cooler. Now let's talk about games and tournaments. We're talking weekends, and especially in the younger age group, where in the 12U world we live this life. Games at 10 o'clock. Next game's not until 3. So you have that in between games where you got to get a lunch in. What's your advice on that? I'm not taking my kid to Golden Corral to eat the buffet and ice cream and everything else because you don't want to get them a little over bloated and you know it wouldn't end up well, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of the same as thinking about your timing before, a practice. You've got to think about how much time you have before the game. Not only how much time do you have to get to the restaurant, get the food, eat it, and then how much digestion time do you have? I feel like a lot of times game and tournament weekends revolve around when can you eat between games. It's a big determining factor, and you're doing the math on, okay, well, if we've got a game at 10 o'clock, that game will be over by 11:30. We can get out of the rink by 11:45. We can get to a restaurant by noon. That gives us an hour before we've got to get back to the rink at 2. It's a lot of math and a lot of determination, but I think it's also something that we've got to think about, and I think it's important for the players so that they are properly fueled for a game.
We've been to restaurants where we've sat down and the food gets served to us, and at the same time, we're like, "Can we go ahead and have our check? We gotta make an ice or puck drop in about an hour, so if you could hurry." It's not rude to the waiter, it's just saying, "Hey, listen, we're kinda turning burning here. Thank you for the food, but go ahead and bring that check out for us."
And that's where you gotta think about too, what restaurant are you going to? Are you going to a sit-down restaurant where you have a wait staff, or are you going to a quick service restaurant where you order at the counter and then they just bring it out to you, or are you doing something else between games? And I think that's something else I wanna talk about. A lot of players and a lot of families will pack a lunch. That's always another good option.
We talked about feeding your kid too much in between games, which you shouldn't do. I'm gonna ask you this question, and I'm not sure I've ever seen this. Have you ever seen a kid throw up on the ice? Like, just bleh, like, through the cage of the
Uh,
helmet?
yes, there was a summer tournament where a goalie was puking on the ice.
So, how do they clean it up? Do they just
I
throw
don't even remember. I
do
just
they
remember
throw
it wasn't a game that our kids were playing. I just remember being at the rink when it was happening, and I was like, "Oh, that's gross. I gotta get out of here."
do they put
Um,
sawdust in the Zamboni and it just goes over
I
top of it?
I don't think they put sawdust in the Zamboni. That's your elementary school janitor with the sawdust. Yeah, I don't know. But let's not talk about that because I don't wanna jinx us into the next time one of the kids is on the ice, they're throwing up.
We talked about the games, and the game times are always wonky and weird. You maybe have a lunch at like 2 o'clock or early dinner at 3 or 4 o'clock. Which, when you do get these sit down restaurants, which I prefer sit down restaurants, I prefer that over fast food because I think sit down restaurants, especially local dives, are that's my thing. If you're eating at 2 or 3 o'clock, chances are those places aren't going to be that busy. I mean, it's the middle of the day. It's not the lunch rush. It's not the dinner rush. So to me, that's a bonus. I can go in there, get a good burger, get good service, quick service, and be in and out of there quick enough, and probably spend as much money as I would at like say a McDonald's or like a Wendy's or something.
Right. I think another point to that is some of these early games, you're going to have a 7 a.m. game where you're at the rink at 6 o'clock. So you're eating protein bar, having a smoothie or something on the way to the rink. And that's breakfast number one. And then you can go back to the hotel and hit the continental breakfast after your game at 9:30, and you're having breakfast number two.
Now you say that, you say the breakfast number one's a granola bar, but we've been in situations where the game's at like, I don't know, now let's say 8:30, and we wake up at 7, have the continental breakfast, go to the game, come back, breakfast is still being served, so we'll eat again, we'll double up. I don't usually eat, I
Right.
usually just have dessert like the waffle. By the way, I can make the best damn hotel lobby waffle with a little squirt cup, a little cup that you pour in there. So good, so good.
I mean, it's not difficult.
It's
It's not
pretty
like it's
dummy.
a recipe. You're just putting batter in a cup and pouring it on the waffle
Well,
iron.
I feel like Julia Child's out there. You slow
Oh,
your
gee.
roll.
If you start doing the emerald, the bam when you take your, waffle out of the, waffle maker, somebody's gonna start laughing at you.
And then as you play the evening games, that's now you're riding the line, especially after the game's over. Because once the evening game's up, the last game of the day is up, you don't have to worry about overfeeding them and stuff like that. You can give them like a normal dinner, and the late games, now you may be forced into the fast food. Now you're forced into going to the drive-thrus that are open 24 hours a day. I know we were talking to a college coach at, our local rink one night, and they had a late game, I think it was like 10 o'clock. He's like, "Hey, where should I eat after this?" I'm like, "Your game's at 10?" He goes, "Yeah." I go, "There's a Waffle House." That's probably all you're gonna get because that's the only thing that's gonna be open this late on, like, I think it was like a Sunday night too. I was like, "I think it's the only place that's open on a Sunday night." He goes, "The kids will like that." I'm like, "Yeah, sure they
Yeah.
would."
Well, that's what I've driven our oldest through Taco Bell at midnight, after practice or a game. So, I mean, I
So
guess he's
you
ready for
are you
college.
were you in between a bunch of drunk kids going to the drive-thru and there's one mom with her hockey kid, meanwhile behind you's probably a
Yes.
carload of frat boys trying to get chicken soft tacos because 'cause they're all high and drunk?
Exactly, exactly. Yeah, I couldn't tell you the last time I was in the Taco Bell drive-through at midnight.
So let's elaborate on that. The post-game ravenous monster is what you call it. That kid again, we talked about this. The kid that comes
Yeah.
off the ice, they don't care. They're not gonna say, "How do you think I played? Did you see me score?" They don't say that. The first words out of their mouth are, "What are we eating?"
I'm hungry. What can we eat? I know our oldest really likes to have a milkshake right after the game, and I think that falls in line with some of the nutrition stuff. I know it probably sounds awful, but back in my marathon running days, chocolate milk was often a post-run recovery drink because that milk has got protein in it. You've got a little bit of chocolate. It tastes good. You're going to drink it down. You get kind of that fat and carbs and everything within that shake or smoothie or chocolate milk. I think that's, something to keep in mind if especially, if you've got a long drive or it's one of those weird times where you don't have a lot of time between games or after a game, that's something that can be quick and easy and really kind of alleviate that monster until you can get to a decent meal.
This is the difference between Angela and me. Angela's talking about having a milkshake after she ran a marathon. I used to have Yoo-hoos after I worked a full shift on the farm. Like, I would have, like, them chocolatey Yoo-hoos, which I think was, like, just water and chocolate, to be honest, and I'm not sure it did anything for me other than probably make me sick the rest of the night.
Well, I was gonna say that's because that's a Yoo-hoo, not like
Don't you disparage Yoo-hoo, that's an
I
American
don't know
icon.
what's in I don't know what's in a Yoo-hoo, but, like, a standard full-fat chocolate milk is gonna have some protein and
What's in a Yoo-hoo? Chocolate and something liquidy.
yeah, I'm not sure what that liquid is. I can only imagine.
Let's go on and talk about, like, our road trips. The road trip cooler. Everybody has their road trip coolers. We did a whole episode on tape. I'm sure we could do a whole episode on coolers, but we have a few coolers, and it depends on how long the trip is, what's the situation in the hotel room, and how long are we staying. Angela, what do you want to say about road trip coolers?
Well, I think number 1, does your hotel have a fridge or not? Because if the
Okay,
hotel has a fridge, I'm taking a smaller cooler.
so my two problems with the hotel fridge. Number one, they are always like not cold. Like, you'd be better off just bringing your food to the rink and setting it next to the ice. The refrigerator in the hotel is never cold. Number two, when you stay at the nicer hotels and they got like all the beer and the cokes and the peanuts and the chocolates inside, you got to. I mean, everybody else I can assume
Okay,
does it. I take it
when
all
do
out.
when do we stay at a nice hotel for a hockey tournament that there's actually stuff in the refrigerator?
At least once a year, we book, like, a fancier hotel because I know I've done it where I've yanked out the high noons and the upper class beer and
Well,
the macadamia nuts out of the fridge
I
to make room for my cheap ass alcohol.
I'd say that's probably a rare occasion that that actually happens, and you know those hotel fridges, they have, like, a little dial on the inside that you turn the temperature down and they get cold.
Like,
So, maybe it's
I'm that
nicer on your part.
I ain't in that hotel room to be the Maytag man. I'm just in there to relax and chill out, and I just want a cold beer.
Right, and if you look at the
I'm
that
I'm
dial, it
lucky to
asks
figure
you
out
to un it.
I'm lucky to get the temperature right on the, hotel shower. I mean, that's where I
Oh,
live.
gee. Anyways, I determine if there's a refrigerator at the hotel because if there's a refrigerator at the hotel, I'm taking a smaller cooler. But I am taking a cooler with maybe a beer or 2 for me. I'm gonna take maybe a sports drink or 2 for the kid, some waters, some snacks, things along those lines. Yogurts, cheese sticks, maybe some hummus, some carrot sticks, things along those lines that you can pop in the fridge. There are good, somewhat healthy snacks to have while you're traveling.
You can always re-up your ice in the cooler from the ice machine in the hotel lobby. Just do it like
That's
it's
true.
happened. do it like 5 in the morning when everybody's sleeping. Just go out there and
Unless you have the room next door to the ice machine, and then everyone else is gonna do that, and you're gonna be pissed.
all right, we kinda danced around this, and I don't have it in my notes, but I just thought of it, but these older kids with those energy drinks, I hate those. The energy drinks with all the loaded caffeine. I don't know, does Sam do that before games, or is he kinda staying away from those?
No, he will have an energy drink before a game on occasion. Again, I'm not a huge proponent of that, but if it's one energy drink before the game and they're not consuming multiple of those a day or a week, I don't have too much heartburn about it. It's kind of, to me, is the same thing as the sports drinks. There's just a lot of chemicals and a lot of sugar and stuff in those that it's not great for your body, but it's the same thing with, you and I having a beer every once in a while. If I have a beer, I'm not going to think too much of it. If I'm going to drink beer every single day, then that's probably going to cause me a problem. Just like having an energy drink multiple times a day or multiple days a week it could potentially cause you more problems. Of course, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a nutritionist. That's just my personal opinion on those kinds of things. And again, everything in moderation.
Thank you. Doctor Angela that's Doctor Angela Mauser?
Yeah, no, not a
We actually
doctor. I don't even
honestly,
play one on TV.
I did have a nutritionist reach out to us. I'm like, "Yeah, we're not quite ready for that. We'll just wing this first episode." Staying on the theme of the hotel room, let's talk about cooking your own food in the hotel room. Now,
Yeah, so
I've looked for microwaves. I've seen instances where people have cooked their underwear inside the Keurig
oh
machine.
geez, that's so gross.
Go back a few episodes to listen to that story.
That's
But,
so gross.
what's your feeling on cooking it up in
I
the hotel
think
room?
there are a lot of times if we're at a tournament or away games and we go get dinner and I have leftovers from the Friday night, I get leftovers. You know what? Those leftovers are probably gonna be my lunch on Saturday. I'm gonna heat those up at the hotel. I've done a lot of that, but I know there are families out there, and I've not done this, but I know families that have taken a crock pot or an air fryer or an Instapot or even a rice cooker into the hotel room to either cook or reheat meals that they brought with them. And
Yeah.
I think it's a great way to save money and probably get a much more nutritious meal than you're going to get like at a fast food or even a counter service meal.
Yeah, come on down to room 403 in the Hilton. I'm, cooking up some salmon. Let's microwave this salmon real quick and, spread the smell.
Well, I don't know that people are cooking salmon in a crock pot, but I think if you've got some like, whatever a normal crock pot meal is, soup, pulled pork, those kinds of things that you just heat up in a crock pot, I think that makes sense. I think it's probably a great way to save money.
We had some dads that went to USA Nationals. They drove from Kentucky to Plymouth, Minnesota, look on a map, and they threw like a griddle in their vehicle and they said they were cooking steaks and everything else. And because the tournament ran so long, we thought we were going to be out earlier. I think they had to run to the grocery and get more meat to cook. They were cooking apparently like grilling in their room. There's just
Oh, wow.
something about cooking in a hotel room just makes me go. But then again, I used to drink hotel coffee, the hotel room
I
coffee.
was
So I
gonna
guess
say,
I
you
can't
can't
say.
say anything. If you're putting a Keurig cup in the hotel room coffee maker, you can't say anything about you could do a grilled cheese with the iron in the hotel room.
Who wants like iron grilled cheese and some microwave salmon? That's what we're heading for dinner tonight, buddy.
Yeah. No, but I think it's a great way to save money and make sure you're getting a nutritious meal. I'm sure there's a lot more information on websites and other social media posts on how to make good meals in a hotel room. I think that's something that's out there. I've seen now that we have a kid going off to college, I'm starting to see more about cooking in dorm rooms, and it's pretty similar.
I keep thinking like a prison where they cooked over like the toilet, like or a hot
Oh,
plate or something
gross.
like that. Yeah, I know. All right, life moves pretty darn fast. Angela, what's your reflections on this one?
We've done a lot of reflections about spending quality time with our kids. And I think this is another one of those things, having those kind of one on one meals or meals with just a couple of other families or other parents and their child, having that time to connect over a meal at a game or a tournament, whether it's between games or while you're traveling or whatever, I think is great. Our oldest has I guess, tradition, we'll call it, of post game, one of his favorite meals since he was a little bitty guy after a game is Noodles and Company, Wisconsin mac and cheese with grilled chicken. In fact, while we were up in Minnesota, I think he had that 2 or 3 times after games while we were up there. So, I think that's one of those things that will live on in my brain for many, many years.
And me I've been a foodie. I like I don't eat a lot, but I love like good food. Always watch like Diners, Dives, that show, and America Eats and stuff like that for these restaurants. And as we visit these cities, I always try to visit those restaurants that I've seen on the Food Network. And that's been one of the things the boys have enjoyed is to go to these random places that aren't the Olive Garden, that aren't Applebee's, that aren't these normal fast food places to try
That aren't
something
Noodles
local.
and Company?
But we always make exceptions for stuff that we like, and Noodles and Company, yes, is near and dear to our hearts because it was one of Sam's first favorite restaurants and still continues this day aside from Chipotle, which he's addicted to at this time. So, yeah,
Right.
I agree, Angela, the food, the sitting down to have dinner, and more bonding experiences with your kid, and something you can relate to. "Hey," 10 years later, "Remember when we were at this restaurant with Sam when he was a mite? He had a good time," or, "He scored 3 goals a day," or something. I would say the last time we were to Arby's once, and he had scored, like, a hat trick. I'll never forget that, but I never go back to Arby's, so I guess I'll
Ugh.
never do that again. I don't know.
Hopefully, he didn't have a game after that.
I don't
Be
think
like
he
a
did.
rock in your stomach.
No, beef and cheddar? You can score
Oh,
3, 4 goals after a beef and cheddar.
I don't know, that'd be like a rock in my stomach, I couldn't do that.
Is that your tip of the week? Don't eat the beef and cheddar before a hockey
Yeah,
game?
don't eat it. Yeah, don't eat the Harvey's beef and cheddar before a hockey game.
Let's get to your tip of the week, your actual tip of the week, and not disparage the fine people at Arby's.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I think tip of the week is figure out what works for you and your player. We mentioned a lot of things that our kids like before and after games. Try different strategies, figure out what works. If your family doesn't like crock pot meals, nobody's saying you have to do that. Try something else. If you forget to meal prep for the week and you don't get to the store, don't stress out. Do some carry out or do some of those grocery store meals or whatever. You've got to figure out what works for you. Don't drive yourself crazy. I know eating out can be expensive, but come up with some other strategies like we mentioned. Finding the local restaurant that has the Taco Tuesday or whatever, I think are all good strategies. And then find those post game snacks or post game meals like Wisconsin mac and cheese with grilled chicken that your kids really enjoy and that can be a go to for you in a pinch. I think find what works and stick with it. But if things change, that's okay too.
My tip would be, as we said, with the hockey practices and even with weekend away tournaments, pre-plan. Pre-plan your meals. Know what you're going to have Tuesday night when you have practice till 8 o'clock. Know what you're going to have when you're in Detroit at a hotel on the outskirts of town. Pre-plan as much as you can. You can always adjust, and it doesn't matter, but you have a worst case scenario. We're going to eat here. That's my advice. That's my tip of the week. Angela, with that said,
Let's do your small business shout out.
and our small business shout out actually matches to what we're talking about. Let's talk about Selly Salt. CELLYSALT.com. Selly Salt, named after hockey. It's 2 hockey moms who make seasonings. When you want to microwave that salmon in your Hilton hotel room, you got a little Selly Salt seasoning to try out. Please give them a try. They're 2 hockey moms out of Detroit. They're on Facebook, but also SellySalt.com. Check them out and get you some good seasonings. They also do like popcorn seasonings and sweet seasonings. So we'll have to give them a try. Angela, why don't you kick us into our outro?
Yeah, appreciate everyone listening. Please follow, subscribe, share our posts, share our small businesses. Any little bit will help. We want to get out there. Leave us a comment or questions on whatever platform you listen on. We're active on Facebook and Instagram. And just remember, we're here with you and want to help you out as much as you guys are going to help us out through this journey of being hockey parents.
Great point. We have merch tagged to the top of our page. And yes, we do small businesses. Nobody pays us to advertise for them. We just do it out of because we enjoy seeing small businesses, especially the ones ran by hockey people like us, hockey parents like us. Please give all of our recommended people a follow and order from them if you can. And like I say every week, keep your stick on the ice. We are all in this together. Goodbye.
Out before dawn, can't feel my face. Coffee spilling all over the place. Forgot the sticks, we're turning around. Another weekend.